What's up guys, Jopo here back with another Clash Clans video. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys what is the best order you should upgrade your defenses and buildings in at Builder Hall 10. I am going to be showing you a couple things in this video. I'm going to be showing you what's the best thing to do if all your defenses and buildings are at level 9, or if you're just basically a brand new Builder Hall 10 with just max Builder Hall 9 stuff. And I'm also going to be showing you what you should do if all your defenses are relatively low and what order you should kind of go in. So let's say you just got Builder Hall 10, but you don't have all level 9 defenses and buildings and all that. I'm going to be showing you what the importance is and how much you should stress each building. Alright, so getting started, we have the Mega Tesla. The Mega Tesla is a really important defense because it can target a lot of big troops and just demolish them. It will ruin someone's raid single-handedly if you leave this thing alone. It absolutely just shreds through pekkas, baby dragons, giants, the battle machine, anything. It is very important to have at a high level, and this goes for if you're a Builder Hall 9, just becoming a Builder Hall 10, or anything in general. Mega Tesla is a very important defense to have at a high level, so I highly recommend getting this up to a high level. Hey, post-editing Jopo here. I forgot to mention that level 10 Mega Teslas take 3 baby dragon abilities to take down as opposed to 2 at level 9. I just thought that was a really important point to mention. I forgot to mention in the video, but I'm mentioning it here. Anyway, that's about it for Mega Teslas though. Next up, we have the Xbow. Now, this is where it gets a little controversial because you could argue that the next defense is more important at a lower level, but I'm going to put the Xbow first because at Builder Hall 10, at level 1 versus level 4, it makes a massive difference as opposed to the other defense I will mention. The Xbow is extremely versatile. It has a ground mode and an air mode, and the main reason you want it at level 4 at least, level 5 is not as important, is because baby dragons do not two-shot with the sneeze ability at max level. So for example, if you have a level 4 Xbow and you drop 2 baby dragons and use both the abilities, it's not going to be taken out easily. You need to have 3 baby dragons to take it out. It also just pretty much shreds through any sort of air troop or ground troop. It's just a nice like ranged defense to have and can completely stop a certain push and force a player to use a different approach. Alright, the next defense we have is the Roaster. Now, the Roaster is extremely important. I would say more important than the Xbow if you don't have it at level 9. So what I'm saying by that is if you have a level 3 Roaster versus a level 1 Xbow, obviously you want to get that Roaster up because a level 1 Xbow isn't too different from a level 4 Xbow. So yes, at all Builder Hall levels, the Roaster is more important than the Xbow. You do not want to leave that at level 1. The Roaster is, once again, another versatile defense. It can target air and ground, and overall it just melts through troops. Even big troops like giants, pekkas, and baby dragons, it just absolutely shreds through them. It also can take care of night witches pretty well for all the lower level Builder Hall players and all the bats and stuff. And overall, it's just a really great defense to have. Next up on our list, we have Airbombs. So Airbombs is an interesting placement. You could once again argue the defenses below it might be more important, like a couple defenses. I'm putting Airbombs up here for Builder Hall 10s just because baby dragons are like pretty much meta at the moment. Having these higher level Airbombs can help take out baby dragons a lot quicker and your battle copter, which is why it's a very nice defense to have. Again, it doesn't target ground, but the other defenses below also only have a one-sided target. Air bombs are just overall important at every level because it pretty much is what stops any sort of air attack. I definitely recommend getting it up at both Builder Halls because of how important it is. Alright, so the next defense we have is the multi-mortar. Now, the multi-mortar is very important. I know I've said that about all these defenses, but usually there's like a core 6 defenses, multi-mortar being one of them. The multi-mortar has, at least for Builder Hall 10, it gives 5 burst shots, which is very important, I would say, because it helps take out any sort of cannon carts or archers, stuff that outranges small troops. You know, you want that stuff taken care of quickly. So having that extra burst is very important. Now, you could argue that it is not as important at lower Builder Hall levels, but in my opinion, I do think it's extremely important as well, just because it really can put a stop to night witches, cannon carts, just anything that has a little bit of range and weak health that you want taken down quickly. Alright, so the next one is a really interesting pick, it is the auto outpost. I would say this one is just as important as the others, you know. It was really hard for me to rank this one since you start at level 1. I think it's something that you should be passively upgrading, just because when you're upgrading, you can still use it. The troops are still in it, the zappies, and having more zappies and at a higher level zappies is really important, because most of the time people aren't taking out this defense last. So when it is taken out, having all those zappies can just absolutely ruin a raid. It makes it very undesirable for the player to take that out if they think they can get the 6-star. Overall, it's a really good defense, and I think right as you get it, you should just be pretty much continuously upgrading it to its max level at each builder hall, because having those zappies as a defense is very important. I know that at level 4 you get 3 zappies, at level 7 you get 4 zappies, and at level 9 you get 4 zappies, but they are not 2-shot to baby dragons anymore, as in their normal fire. They're not 2-shot, they now take 3 shots. And at max level you get 5 zappies, which is really broken. So yes, you could argue that this could be higher on the list, but I thought this one was a really weird spot to place. If you're going to become a Builder Hall 10, you need to get this up quick. It is very important. If you're like a Builder Hall 6, this is where I don't have as much importance on it, but you should still be upgrading it as you go along. Alright, so the next one we're looking at is the Hidden Tesla. Now, the Hidden Tesla is a very important defense to have at Builder Hall 10. The difference between a level 10 Tesla and a level 9 Tesla is massive. For example, baby dragons can sneeze and take out a level 9 Tesla, but a level 10 Tesla, a baby dragon sneeze ability is not going to take out, which can potentially take out that baby dragon completely if the Tesla is behind like a storage or something. Now the reason why I didn't want to put this any higher is because Teslas at lower levels, yes, they are very important. They can really help melt down some troops, and I would say they're still very important, but you could argue that it's not as important as the next 2 things or the next 3 things. But overall, you should be passively upgrading your Tesla, just making sure it's like within a few Builder Hall ranges of your Builder Hall. But once you hit Builder Hall 10, like I said, follow the order. This one is a very important one to upgrade. All right, next up we have double cannons. Now, double cannons are very strong defense. Double cannons are primarily used against like pekkas, giants, your battle machine, pretty much any troop that is a bit beefy and tanky. I would say double cannons, even though the difference from level 9 to 10 is small, it is still pretty noticeable when you're going against pekkas and whatnot. I definitely recommend getting this up at every Builder Hall level. I think it is extremely important defense to get up because it can help stop ground approaches on attack. But yes, I think double cannon is one of those defenses that you should have within a Builder Hall range of your current Builder Hall, just because of how strong of a defense it is. All right, next up we have the firecrackers. Now, this one is an interesting placement. You could argue that it could be lower or higher than some of these, just compared to certain defenses. But once again, it is one of those defenses that only targets air, so that's why it's kind of lower on this list. Now, firecrackers are very important at pretty much every Builder Hall level. I don't see many people down lower using baby dragons for whatever reason. I think baby dragons are really strong, but at a higher Builder Hall, baby dragons are currently one of the strongest troops in the game. So having these up makes sense because you can take care of baby dragons much quicker, especially if you have 5 of them. The damage difference and the health difference is massive. Now, I also want to give a few informational points here. At level 8, these are not going to get one-shot by max baby dragons. I think that's an important thing to note. So if you do get to Builder Hall 10, at least have these at level 8 so that you're not getting one shot by baby dragons. But the sole reason I put this a lot lower on the list is just because it's only really useful for one troop, and that is the baby dragon. I don't think any other troops are really gonna stop it. But yeah, if you're a Builder Hall 10, get it up to level 8 at least if you're rushing. Obviously, if you're max level, there's not as much importance, but I would still say throughout every Builder Hall level, it's one of those defenses you should have within a couple Builder Hall levels of your current Builder Hall. All right, next up, we have the Archer Tower. Archer Towers are very interesting spot. They're somewhat weak, however, it's still an important thing to upgrade. Archer Towers, the reason why they're important is because they can target both air and ground, which not a lot of other defenses can do. The Archer Tower is just one of those defenses that you kind of want within 2 Builder Hall levels of your current Builder Hall, just because You don't want it to be too weak so that when it's targeting troops that you need to get down, you don't want it to be taking forever and eventually just getting taken out. At Builder Hall 10 level, Archer Towers not as important because level 9 versus level 10 isn't huge, but the main purpose of Archer Towers is to stop cannon carts. And I know when you set up to a lower level, they're also pretty good at shredding like baby dragons and stuff, especially if it's behind like a storage. It's gonna do a lot of damage. Overall, I wouldn't put too much importance on it at even both levels. I think Archer Towers are good, but they're not as important as everything else that I've mentioned so far. All right, next up we have cannons. Cannons, they just target ground. Honestly, it's like a stronger Archer Tower, but it just targets on the ground. Cannons are important somewhat. This is like one of the defenses that you don't really need at a really high level. I definitely wouldn't put a lot of importance on cannons, but I definitely still would upgrade them. I wouldn't keep them at a low level because it is important to still take out ground troops with them. It's like a double cannon, but weaker, but it still does do some damage to those bigger troops. At Builder Hall 10, you're not going to see too much of a difference between 9 and 10. At every other Builder Hall, like I said, it's like one of those defenses that you want to keep within a couple Builder Hall levels of your current Builder Hall. All right, next up, you guys are going to be so mad about this, but Lava Launcher. Okay, Lava Launcher is extremely important defense. It is the primary defense of stopping cannon carts, which is one of the most meta strategies right now at the Builder Hall 10 level. However, the difference between level 9 and 10, if you were at max Builder Hall 9, it is so small and limited, it is not even worth upgrading. Every other defense I mentioned is easily more important than this if you're going from a 9 to 10 difference. Now, right out of the gates at Builder Hall 9, do I think you should get your Lava Launcher up a little bit? Yeah, I think you should get it up a couple levels. You know, I don't think level 1 Lava Launcher is going to be nearly as effective as a level 9 Lava Launcher, but it's something that is not as important as the other defenses, contradicting what people previously believed. I would say, yes, you should get this up a couple levels, like maybe if you're a brand new Builder Hall 9, get this up to level 5 or something, you know, or you can even rush to Builder Hall 10, but if you do that, you want to get it up. If you're already a max Builder Hall 9 and you had a max Lava Launcher, don't even worry about it in the next Builder Hall. Alright, so our last defense is the guard post. Now, the guard post was something that was really important back in Builder Hall 9, the old update, but now it's kind of not really serving too much of a purpose anymore. Obviously, having decent level guard post, like you don't want this at level 1, it's important. The troops, they still are annoying to deal with, but it's not that hard to just bait them out and take care of them. I would definitely recommend getting this up a little bit as you go because it's still a pretty cheap defense to upgrade, especially at lower levels. I would say have this within like 3 Builder Hall levels of your current Builder Hall. Like you don't want this to be super weak, but I would not stress a lot of importance on this, especially if you're rushing. Maybe just get it up 1 level. It's something you shouldn't worry about too much. And the difference between Builder Hall 9 and Builder Hall 10, I don't think you should even touch the guard post. The guard post is completely fine with level 18 troops. It's not something you should be worrying about at Builder Hall 10. Worry about every other defense before you worry about this. Alright, so I thought I would talk about walls as well. If you're a Builder Hall 9 versus Builder Hall 10 walls are not really going to matter. If people have a max level bomber, level 10 walls aren't going to make a difference. However, level 10 walls do make a massive difference if someone does not have a max level bomber. A level 9 wall versus a level 18 bomber, it's going to one-shot it, but if you have level 10 walls versus level 18 bomber, those walls are going to be really strong. The bomb throwing ability that the bomber has is not going to be effective because it's not going to take out those walls. Overall, when it comes to walls, it should easily be the last thing you do. However, I don't think you should have walls at level 1 just because of how cheap they are to upgrade. I would say get the walls to like maybe level 4 or something, you know, and then just level 4, 5, 6 when you're at Builder Hall 10 and you're rushed. It is the last thing you should really do, but I would say you should have like level 4 walls throughout every Builder Hall for the most part, just because it's cheap and easy to get. Alright, for our last defense, I quickly wanted to go over traps. Traps are a bit of an interesting one. Some traps are more useful than others, and at some levels, traps are just completely useless to go any higher on. So let's take a look at push traps. Push traps at level 9 have a spring capacity of 24. Currently, the heaviest troop in the game is a P.E.K.K.A with a spring weight of 22. This means that getting your push traps up to level 8 will be plenty of power to push the heaviest troop in the game. I also want to make a quick mention of a Boxer Giant. It's at 18 spring weight. If you want to get that, These are used pretty frequently and it's nice to push them around. But by far, the most important spring weight is spring weight 16. This pushes cannon carts and absolutely ruin raids. I cannot tell you how many raids I have lost because of a push trap. It is the most annoying thing ever. So get your push trap up to spring weight 16, which I believe is like what, level 5, 6 area? I mean, you guys can compare once you get to it, but just please get your cannon cart up there. Another thing to mention is Night Witch at a spring weight of 14, because I know they can be annoying, and if you can push these into a bomb or something, or into a crusher, it's gonna win you the raid. Alright, spring traps. Really no use for these. Honestly, after the update, they became pretty useless. They're good to take out archers, like for people who use cannon carts and archers. The only reason you would ever want to get this to max level is by some miracle they place 2 archers on the same spot and it gets both of them. However, you really don't have to upgrade this much. I'm pretty sure it starts out at a spring capacity of level 3. I would recommend not really upgrading this. I feel like there's no use to, but you definitely should get them placed down. Alright, now I'm going to generalize mines. I definitely highly recommend getting mines up. Mines are very underrated. A lot of people think that they're not important just because it's a little mine, but you would be surprised at how much damage these things actually can do. At level 9, this can probably take out about 1/3 of a baby dragon, if not more, which just shows you if there's a group of them, it's going to take out and do a lot of damage. I would recommend getting your traps up at least within 2 levels of your builder hall, but I definitely think you should be getting your mines up just because they are important. Alright, so that is it for the defenses. This is my opinion, by the way. I have also talked to a couple other top players to get their opinions on this, so for the most part, this is a decent list of what you should do to upgrade defenses. You don't have to follow my list perfectly, you should just keep a general idea of what you should be upgrading though. Now, the most important building to get up first is the Star Laboratory. Level 20 troops versus level 18 troops have a massive difference, especially with baby dragons, cannon carts, pekkas, bombers, etc. Next up, we have the Healing Hut. The Healing Hut is very important since it can take a bunch of weak troops on the second stage and make them useful. For example, let's say you have 6 weak baby dragons that have little to no use. With the Healing Hut, they now can become 6 healthy troops that can help you get the 6 star. Again, I feel like this one also is pretty self-explanatory, but if you're a Builder Hall 10 and you have this at level 1, you should be getting this up to max instantly. It's very important, or you should at least be passively upgrading it with other buildings. If you have just unlocked this at Builder Hall 6, just make sure you upgrade it once every single Builder Hall, get it to its max level. It's definitely worth having it at a high level. Next up, we have heroes, and I'm going to be diving into specifics with them. Okay, if you're at a lower Builder Hall, getting your battle machine up to level 15 as quickly as you can, or at least to level 5 so it has some use, is very important. If you can get this thing up to level 15, you get the chain ability, which essentially allows you to chain 3 buildings with 1 battle machine hit. It's also going to be a very strong hit because it has 3 charged up bars. It's definitely worth your time upgrading the battle machine to at least level 15 because of this ability. If you're a Builder Hall 9 going to Builder Hall 10, it's up to you if you prefer battle machine over Copter, but I can promise you that the battle Copter becomes very powerful at Builder Hall 10. And here we have the battle Copter, about the same importance as the battle machine. I would say more important even, just because at level 15, it is not very good. Once you get up to about 25, 30, especially 35, it becomes a very powerful hero. A lot of people underestimate this hero, but when it's at level 35, it is a tank and the ability becomes very powerful. I could probably not have made it as high as I am now without the battle Copter. As for lower levels, right as you unlock it, I wouldn't worry too much about it. It's just kind of something that you can use as a secondary. Maybe get it up to level 20 by Builder Hall 9. I think that would be fair for the Copter since it is a very powerful hero. Alright, so the reason I have Builder Barracks very low is because I only use baby dragons and carts. I mean, you know, you could, if you're a P.E.K.K.A user, you can go for that. It really depends, you know, what troops you use, but honestly, you could get away with having this thing at the Builder Hall 4 level with baby dragons. Builder Hall 5 preferably. Still something somewhat important to upgrade, but it does kind of help you focus on specific troops. If you don't upgrade, keeps your mind off it. Alright, and I wanted to quickly go over the resource buildings. I'm not going to say too much about this just because, you know, it really depends if you have the pass or not and what you need to upgrade, but obviously you should get your collectors up at least 1 level below your Builder Hall. I think that's fair. You want to be able to upgrade stuff. And by Builder Hall 10, I would recommend getting these up just as quick as you can, so that if you want to use runes, you can still get the maximum amount of value out of them. But there's so many farming strategies nowadays that loot doesn't really matter as much. Collectors, I mean, the extra health on them is a little bit nice to cannon carts, but they're not super important. Same with low levels. Like, there's so many new ways to farm in builder base now that I feel like the collectors have lost a lot of purpose. Yes, it's nice to passively make some loot, but you can easily make that loot within 2 attacks without the loot timer. So that's why I don't feel like collectors are as necessary anymore. However, getting some HP on them is important, so I would recommend passively leveling these up as you go along your builder halls. Same thing is also going to apply to the gem mine. Not super important. Now, the gem mine's a bit of a weird one. This is just preference. If you want to passively get gems as you're playing the game, I guess you could upgrade it. It's not super important. I would recommend not even touching it really until you rush or get your way up to Builder Hall 10. I would recommend doing this pretty much last. Alright, and for our last thing, we have the clock tower. Now, the clock tower isn't a part of the resource tab, it's kind of an other tab, but the clock tower is extremely important in my opinion, especially when you're trying to rush at lower builder halls. I definitely recommend getting the clock tower up because you can get a lot of value out of this thing every single day. If you leave your clock tower at level 1, I think you get something like 12 minutes of boost, as opposed to when it's level 10, you get 32 minutes of boost. If some of you guys don't know this, 30 minutes of clock tower boost equals 5 hours of a building done. So if you're chopping that into about a third, you're losing out on a lot of value, especially when you're upgrading a troop and upgrading 2 buildings. The clock tower can definitely come in handy. So I would put the clock tower above all the resources. It's pretty important thing to upgrade. I would say it's just under the importance of your healing hut and your star laboratory. I would highly recommend getting it up, especially to get the hit points up on it. Alright, final part of the video. I just want to give a quick summary of each troop and how powerful it is in the current meta. I'm pretty much just going to highlight the really good ones and tell you the ones to just avoid upgrading altogether, just because you're not going to find it useful at Builder Hall 10. Alright, starting off, we have minions. Do not upgrade minions. There's very little value for minions. Archers can do everything a minion does, but better. Even a barbarian does what a minion does better. You could throw a barbarian down and get a hidden Tesla, but you can't do it with a minion. A minion's just going to get zapped instantly. I highly recommend just avoiding upgrading minions altogether. Next up, Night Witches. In my opinion, very little use for them. Maybe at lower builder halls it's good, but I promise you at Builder Hall 10, the Night Witch is an awful troop. And next up, we have the Dropship. Don't upgrade the Dropship. And then finally, I guess we could say Barbarian. I would recommend not upgrading Barbarian. You know, when you're higher builder hall, maybe after you upgrade all the stuff I have max on screen, including Hog Gliders and Wizards and Giants, then you can start upgrading Barbarians. Otherwise, every other troop does have its uses. I would say Wizards are a bit weaker. But the most important troops, in my opinion, are going to be Baby Dragons, Cannon Carts, Pekkas, Bombers, Hog Gliders, Giants for sure, and maybe Wizards. I see people use Wizards occasionally, but otherwise I don't see many of the other troops being used. Alright, that's going to be it for this video, guys. If you guys have any video suggestions, please leave them in the comments, because I would be down to do a lot of stuff. Just tell me what you guys want. Anyway, that's it for this video, guys. Peace.